Have you ever been sitting around playing Pokémon X?
No.
Have you ever been sitting around playing Pokémon X and suddenly wondered to yourself, why is it called that? Like, hey, I thought we were working off of colors and gems here. Or how come when the first games came out in Japan, it was red and green, but when they were released everywhere else, it was red and blue? Well, today we're going to go through the games and try to figure out where the titles came from for all 9 generations of Pokémon. So starting off with Gen 1, we've got Pokémon Red, and then Green, Blue, and Yellow. Originally, Game Freak was just going to create one version of the game, but they realized if they create multiple with different encounter rates, it would make people have to trade and make the experience more fun. Not to mention it would boost sales. First, they wanted 3, Blue, Red, and Green.
Green is not a creative color.
But eventually they decided on 2, Red and Green. Apparently, Green won out over Blue because Venusaur was just too cool to not be on the box designs. Sorry, Blastoise. Later, when releasing for international audiences, they changed to Red and Blue because, and I kid you not, they wanted to appeal to American audiences by matching the United States flag colors. When they added the enhanced game to the mix, they called it Yellow because you get Pikachu as your starter, and he follows you around. This was, of course, in response to the incredible success of the anime, which was released a year earlier. For the remakes, they switched back to the original Green title because creator Junichi Masuda thought Fire Red and Leaf Green seemed more harmonious than Fire Red and Water Blue. The leaf is also a symbol of peace, and Masuda wanted to promote a more peaceful world. I guess children battling each other with tiny monsters they keep in their pockets still fits into his idea of a peaceful world, though. For Gen 2, we have Pokemon Gold and Silver, then Crystal for the Enhanced. For these, the creators wanted the game names to feel related to Gen 1, but different and a little bit more deluxe. As creator Tsunekazu Ishihara said, Gold and Silver aren't just colors, they're also real, material things. Precious things. For Crystal, apparently the name came from the crystals used in electronic transmissions. That's also why they made the cartridge clear, to show the electronic working parts. For the remakes, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the game names come from how the creators felt about them. The games were meant to be focused on sharing meaningful experiences with Pokemon, so Heart and Soul seemed appropriate. Another fun fact, you may have heard somewhere that Gold and Silver were meant to be the last Pokemon games. That's actually a myth. This comes from an old interview where Ishihara said he thought this would be the last game that he worked on. This also ended up being untrue, as he's credited as at least a producer all the way up to the present. Shout out to Google Translate for helping with this video. Alright, on to Gen 3 in Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Here they wanted to continue the theme of precious gems that they started with Pokemon Crystal. They went for Ruby and Sapphire in part because they're made from the same ore, and this fit with their trend of always having 2 versions. As Junichi Masuda said, they're basically the same, but the concept is, how you look at them changes what they are. They also chose Ruby and Sapphire and later Emerald to correspond with the original Red, Blue, and Green titles. In Gen 2, apparently they felt like they'd strayed from the original versions too much, and with these games, they wanted to get back to their roots. More on that later. With the remakes, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they're playing on the ideas of beginnings, endings, and opposites. Alpha and Omega are the beginning and the end of the Greek alphabet. The legendaries Groudon and Kyogre created the land and the sea, but during the course of the game, their fighting also threatens to destroy everything. Next, we have Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and later Platinum for Gen 4. According to the creators, they went into this generation with the idea of these being the ultimate Pokemon games. They also represented their hopes for fan responses to the games, as apparently Diamond represents love and Pearls represent happiness. Platinum was chosen because it represents ultimate achievement, even higher than Silver or Gold. And as the enhanced version of the Ultimate series, had to be the ultimate. The titles for the remakes are pretty basic and obvious. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are just what happens when you polish up a diamond and a pearl. And they're remakes, so they're more polished. Yeah, certainly they're more polished. Moving on to Gen 5, we've got Pokemon Black and White. This gen was considered a soft reboot for the series with 150 new Pokemon to level the playing field for players old and new. We didn't have any of our old monsters to work with, just brand new ones for our Unovan adventures. Since we're starting over, Black and White align with Gen 1's plain color title names. Black and White were chosen also to represent the game's theme of opposites. Truth versus ideals is a big theme of the game, and also yin and yang, especially when it comes to the legendaries. In Unovan mythology, Reshiram and Zekrom are supposed to be two opposing halves of the same ancient dragon Pokemon. And even though it's not explicit, they're meant to be masculine and feminine halves, just like yin and yang. These games don't have an enhanced version or remakes, but they did have sequels ingeniously named Black 2 and White 2. Hold your applause for creativity there. Just kidding. I think Black 2 and White 2 are some of the most inventive games in the series from a storytelling perspective, but the lack of a Pokemon Gray probably hurt sales. Next, we have Generation 6 with Pokemon X and Y. According to Junichi Masuda, X and Y are meant to represent the X and Y axis on a graph. They wanted to have a theme of finding the common ground that we all share, and the axes represent how different thoughts and opinions came together. So wholesome. As far as we can tell, this hasn't been explicitly stated, but X and Y can also be interpreted as X and Y chromosomes. Since this gen introduces mega evolutions, you can see a potential connection to genetics there. And we never got a proper Z-axis to complete Pokemon's first true 3D titles on the 3DS. I mean, come on, what a shame. We'll probably never get anything like that. And may I remind you that I am a fan who shelters myself from any news, spoilers, or leaks until new gens come out, so shh. Moving right along to Gen 7 with Pokemon Sun and Moon. These games are meant to focus on Pokemon as living creatures and celebrating life. Sun and Moon were chosen because of how dramatically they affect life on Earth, and because creator Shigeru Omori liked the idea of Earth, Sun, and Moon influencing each other as a metaphor for how humans influence each other in our daily lives. Yeah, I guess they went a little flower child on this one. Focus on nature and celestial bodies also makes sense with the Hawaii-inspired setting of the games and the lore for the legendaries. Necrozma wants to steal all the light, and the Cosmogs all come from Ultra Space. Sun and Moon, night and day, dark, space, you get it. We're a little too early for remakes on this gen, but we do have the enhanced versions, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Pretty self-explanatory. Take the games, make the same games but finished, call them Ultra, make money, repeat. Hey, I'm not complaining. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't buy and play all 4 games multiple times. And I'll be buying the remakes when they come out too. I love Pokemon. Next up with Gen 8, we have Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. These have been officially stated as deriving from the legendaries Zacian and Zamazenta, who use a sword and shield respectively, of course. They also align with the game's theme of strength, power, victory, and questioning what you do with that power. They also connect with the spirit of competition and the new battle features in these games like max raid battles, the battle stadiums, and Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing. Also, the Galar region is inspired by the UK, and British history is all like knights, round tables, kings with swords from lakes and stuff like that. A quick shout out to Legends Arceus here, which is technically part of Gen 8. Arceus sends you back in time. That makes you part of history, which makes you a legend. That's all we've got. Alright, last but not least, we've got Generation 9. For Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we couldn't find any confirmed information explaining the titles for this one. But hey, Ari, one of our writers, is an English major, so let us take a crack at it. We're gonna pull something out of our mudberries here. Speaking of which, they'll be writing a lot more with me for these videos, so you should totally subscribe. So first we've got some color theory. Scarlet and Violet are opposite ends of the visible color spectrum. This takes us back to our themes of opposites, and the ancient past and distant future are obviously big themes in these games. Violet is also symbolic of the future in color theory, and Scarlet, or Red, is associated with passion and viscerality, which connect to the fierce animal nature of the past. If you want to get crazy nerdy, when languages develop words for colors, red is always one of the first after black and white, and violet is always one of the last, which is kind of cool. Some more basic color associations. The schools you go to in the games are either the Naranja or the Yuva Academy, which translate to orange and grape in Spanish. Oranges aren't normally scarlet, but hey, maybe it's a blood orange. I don't know, that kind of thing. Also, generations with straightforward color names tend to signal the start of a new era. Red, green, and Blue were the very beginning. Black and White were kind of a soft reboot for the franchise. And Scarlet and Violet were the first games we've seen with an open world concept in the main series. A proper open world concept. Sit down, Sword and Shield, and we'll get back to you later. Hey, in Scarlet and Violet, you don't get no pass either. Don't act like you're the cream of the crop or anything. Fix yourselves. So there you have it, an explanation for every one of the titles of the mainline games. Let us know which was your favorite in the comments below, and please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be coming out with more content weekly. A special thanks to Ari for helping to put this video together, and keep an eye out for more content from the Slack Squad community. We're doing our best to keep the content coming and race towards our first sub goals. The more likes and subscribes we get on this video, the more you can help our small channel grow. Slack hard, keep shiny hunting, and we'll see you next time.